Hey, Oscar, do you want to see if you can hear us? Yeah.
Yes, I could hear you guys. Can you hear me?
You want this copy and I can put on this side.
Can you hear me?
The cord reaches, once it reaches. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Are you sure? Yeah. Mine is charged. Again, Oscar?
Can you guys hear me?
That's pretty fast. Yeah, gotcha. And I charge my phone too, so.
Most of what was on the docket that you all decided you wanted to talk about, it didn't, except I included the bond payment, and I don't think we'll go over.
So I, like, one that we did for registration. And.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I don't know.
You're what?
Sheep duty. Shed or.
Well, we have, so what I have is not that, but I have ASCWU,
Yes, I have that.
ECLC, the KCWU.
Oh.
And the multicultural center. And then that is all I showed that was put on the docket to revisit that we haven't revisited yet.
Because the only thing from ACW I have is. Yeah.
We're still asked to review the Senate budget.
Oh, schedule is what it was.
Oh,
Sheep
okay.
duty.
And then you all, we can, once the meeting starts, we can put this on the record, but you guys have made reductions of $741,544.09, and that's on the current recommendations tab, and tab 43. And you have another 75,000 to go. Which is 4%. If you don't want to raise the fee, you've got 286. Listen,
We can lump another piece of the.
Technically already are.
that's.
Like bigger appreciate.
I don't know how Cherie's gonna be looking kicked out, but. Yeah.
Hey, Oscar, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I could hear you guys, yeah.
I'm sending you an email so you can find the document that we were working on in Teams.
Just did.
Oh, you already, oh,
Yes.
Robbie already sent you it, never mind. Are
Yeah,
they-
I think it's on, yeah, it's like, it's on the files, right?
Yeah, under dated documents. And, it's called base funding tracker. So if you can't find it, then, let me know.
Okay.
I call this meeting to order at 5:16 P.M. Wait, actually, is there an agenda? Oh. First item is the agenda approval. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda for today.
Second. Question? All in favor of approving today's agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the agenda is approved. Next, the approval of meeting minutes. Let's table that. Very motion to table.
Motion to table meeting minutes of last week.
Is there a second? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Next, reports by the chair, I have none. Please.
I just want to make sure, Mia, you're good to go.
Sorry, I was kind
That's okay, right? That's all I have then.
I'll just update you all on where we're at for funding wise. As we noted, we are looking to allocate out 5,687,276 based on our projected revenue and a potential fee increase. We have current recommendations of 5,762,235.26. So we're needing to reduce that recommendation by about 75,000 to meet our budget. And so far you've reduced 741, 544.
Right, ACWU, oh, sorry.
No, keep going. I was just gonna pull up the.
I moved it to your updated document.
Seeing that we don't have any new business for today. We'll go back to old business. Yeah, is it possible to read the whole bit of meeting minutes from yesterday? That's
Saturday.
yes.
One thing, so. I'm looking to be motion to move before that.
Yeah, loud for the.
Lots of the business was a discussion about increasing the S&A fee, which Aaron just covered before that.
I would say that's okay. It's what-
The big one,
What was the last program we discussed?
it was publicity. You know, what the recommendation for a 30% increase.
And I think that
That's,
30% 5,000.
it's reflected.
Right, the next item on our docket, has been updated since, last time. The CLC, the ACWU, with the KCW, there's a specific order we would like to receive the docket. What's that?
Order is okay.
All right, first item of business, first three is the reconsideration of sampling, scheduling budget. Is there a motion to open the sampling budget?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of opening debate on starting the budget, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is open.
The-
And you basically use your best performer voices.
Is this the west side one?
No, this is, student union, the sub scheduling, it's
Okay.
from, January 24th.
Okay.
Oscar, I also have it on the screen right now.
Yeah, I'm seeing it right now. Thanks.
Very good question. This budget, within the questions you answered, if they were to take they would have to charge for estimating 50% of this space. Because you're using it with, just like they're operating. And be able to get. And be associated with them. So if we were to reduce it, but in some aspects, the additional cost to escape these groups. Most people that will then require additional staff for that fee to be processed. And that's what my understanding of that is. And why they have to use.
Aaron, do you remember what the transfer in expense was?
Yeah, so the scheduling center has multiple funding sources. They make revenue from other non-SNA and non-club groups that come in, that pay a fee for scheduling the room. Excuse me, then they, get the money from SNA, and the transfer in is the amount that it's either the state or the university. I kind of feel like it might be a state funded, that they get that to help ensure that there is a scheduling center on campus.
Maybe why not? Could effectively make.
And they would essentially have to hire for these process those fees.
I mean, they already paid, sorry. They would just have to pay. Yeah. Yes.
So like right now, we're an SNA funded area. Excuse me, and we do not pay to rent this room. We are paying, for the technology piece to be able to access the computer. But if it's just like a scheduling, then there is no charge for the actual space.
Oh, I'm just thinking.
Do clubs pay for?
No.
Only if there's, I think,
Equipment. Or change in setup, if somebody says, I wanna rearrange this room, they would charge a fee for the staff it takes, but they do not pay for renting. The usage of rooms, excuse me.
Yeah. And the way clubs used to work is that they would have to do that estimate. And then it would like not be anything because it was related, like, if you're gonna make a big mess or something like that. Which they have done a good job of not doing that, so they open that.
Just thinking about the transactions, somebody.
Right.
And it's like, they're always charging. for
It's,
stuff, but
they're
there's-
probably charging for the computer equipment.
Their discussion.
Would 10% be reasonable?
Oh, they're on Zoom. The thing that I've been looking at, sorry, Mary. Is that they've been net positive for the past 3 years. Because of their transfer in funds. So they do have 60,000 in their pocket currently.
And then this is, one of those areas also, as far as that, the unspent amount that goes back to the.
Not the number. Any other?
Words, even as is, just because the amount of students that would be impacted would be very nice. Anyone who wants to use their center would have to pay.
Small stuff, yeah. Any other discussion? Oscar, do you have any other discussion?
Just that I feel like they should take a deduction regardless of the income that they use. They should still take a deduction.
Your recommendation?
I recommend to leave the scheduling center as it is. With the full amount they requested.
Any other recommendation?
I recommend the 20% deduction.
Any other recommendation? Any other recommendation? So the first recommendation we have is to fund their full request. Calling for division of the committee. All those in favor of a full request, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Aye or nay.
All right, it looks like that recommendation passes 4-2 to 0. Given that it is the majority. Robbie, do you think we should go through all of them? Okay, it looks like the other recommendations fail. Her recommendation is to fully fund their request. Is there any other discussion? All right, is there a motion to close debate?
Motion to close the debate on scheduling center.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of closing debate, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is closed. Next item of business is the MCC. Is there a motion to open debate?
Motion to open debate on the MCC and EBC.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of opening debate on MCC DTC budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Oscar, how do you vote?
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is open.
On the 28th. I know we recently discussed that they're going to add additional staff. We talked about not giving them the extra. Until we see the need for it.
I do want to say currently, DEC. They're currently at 15% reduction. And when there was, we were thinking about, there were getting 2 extra student staff, correct, or like this? And the funding reflects, that we're gonna give them reflects 2 student staff, I believe, so.
My thinking on it is, it's really hard to look into the future and think that this is what we're going to need, this is what we're going to have. If they don't increase in any way, they just increase their size, adding additional staff is not gonna be beneficial to them. And then I understand wanting to be open later or on weekends. But if you're only getting a few students in during those times, is it really worthwhile to have that additional staff and have that extra labor because of those hours? That's where I would feel. Do we give them this money now? Or do we wait and have them come in for supplemental if they wish to pursue that avenue?
Like if they came later and said, we are going to do this amount.
Okay, so you can provide us evidence that they,
That makes sense.
that's my concern, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I said that actually allow them to have that step to.
Or we can use this, it would allow them 2 extra students, then they would set their hours. That would be the division.
And based on. And giving them. I would say I would agree, mostly because we are doing reduction, we have to be proposed to reduce, and this is a negative item. We have to do cuts, so.
Yes, I would make it. So 434, 951.
Any other discussion?
I
Disagree with that.
Any other discussion? Oscar, do you have any other discussion?
So are they only taking a 15% reduction or a 9%?
Originally it was a 9%, and then we were proposing 15%, but now we're revisiting and proposing 20%.
I agree with that.
Any other discussion? Okay, is there a recommendation?
Recommend to cut MCC DEC to 20% reduction.
Any other recommendations? Okay, the current recommendation is to increase the reduction by 5% and have a 20% decrease. Calling for division of the committee. All those in favor of this recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The recommendation passes 5-0 to 0.
That's 6.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your number was 4,300, or 434,000, sorry. $951.
Any other discussion? Okay, is there a motion to close debate?
Motion to close debate on MCC and EDC.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of closing debate on DEC MCC budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Guys have it, the floor is closed. Next item on our docket is the revisiting of ECLC budget. Is there a motion to open debate on the budget?
Motion to open debate on ECLC budget.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of opening debate on the ECLC budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Guys have it, the floor is open.
So they requested. They requested 400%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Originally.
We get it, cut it down. I think down to 50 because that was the maximum that they said they were do essentially for students. Which they haven't even driven that they full 50% as students yet. That was their projection for this year.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
If I can, wanna see, they didn't provide a budget, these are the current rates. Wait,
How many students are benefiting?
so, I think they have this one. But the supplemental documentation they provided this week in that separate packet is where she provided the historical data.
You kind of we're gonna have to work into the number because what he provided was percentages. Can you go to the slide that shows the capacity? Yeah, there was one slide that showed, I think. Yeah, so 15 children per classroom except the pre-K class, so I think I think that's 62 students. 62
61.
children.
15 times 3. Oh, no, I'm sorry, you're right. Okay, you're-
That's okay. I'm like, it's late in the day. Okay, so then that's probably, I would say maybe a gauge, if you were to say there were 62, and 30% would be, 30. Okay.
The data that was provided, I only see the black staff a higher percentage than the student.
And even though like, if they did say that like. Higher reduction would implemented by the student rate would also rise, but. As it is, it's not as negative as the staff. Or-
I think that, I guess what I'm mainly concerned about is what this, will look like. Once a 50%, reduction is implemented. Because right now, I think that it's definitely very affordable for students, and I'm wondering, because I think that we're looking at it as like, as they're hoping to get student usage up to 50%. And then that was the thought behind it, but I think once this is implemented, the student usage is gonna go down because it's gonna become less affordable for students, and the higher cost of it is definitely going to be more in line with what a faculty member is going to make yearly. Like a faculty member can take that hit better than a student can take that hit, who's probably
working less than 20 hours a week. And an increase of, because it's gonna be increased across the board, not just for faculty, like, what we would hope to do in order to get student usage up. And it's just gonna be an increase for everyone, and faculty is probably gonna be able to take that hit better than students, and then if students can't afford it, then they probably won't seek higher education because they need to take care of their child. And they're not going to have the affordable care that they have currently.
So
Um, ca-
Fred?
ca- can I add something?
Yes,
So as a father of 4 children, if I were to bring all my children and pay every day that I go to school, I would be paying double tuition. So it's not fair that I get charged S&A fee and I have to pay also a fee to bring my children. So I'm paying twice. And I think that's unfair for the students. And I think that they should lower the price for the students because we are helping with through our S&A fund that's through the students. And I think a 50% is too actually too much, and they should get more of a reduction because as their slide shows and of what I've seen, it's mostly the staff that uses it and not the students.
did you all look at their answers on here? And on the first bullet, it talks about what they do with the S&A funding, and that might help to, oh, can I look at that, whether they say that the S&A fee is justification for the reduced student rate. You can do the math to see if, based on that number of students, with the price difference, what that would be.
That. From the other meeting, was that at the learning center, not at the daycare?
my other thing that they talked about was they don't currently accept state waivers. I know that is being revisited. So students will be able to apply for a waiver to have free childcare while they're from. They also talked about they need a specific number of teachers in the classroom per student. Student staff doesn't count. And I have a lot of student staff. It would save a lot on their budget. It would mean cutting student hours. But I think they would be able to manage with a 50%.
Any other discussion?
But I do see where you're going. I stand by their decision on it.
Do we have any numbers to see what that increase would look like?
Increase in the amount the students would pay. They'd have to know what we're at and where they could probably give us that.
Big resource. That was-
You're doing some really. And it sucks because people who need it most are gonna be the ones affected most by it.
My thinking is not that, because I think that PCLC could possibly recover from this kind of reduction, because I just think that, over the course of the next couple of years, it's going to massively lopside towards faculty and staff using it compared to students, because it's going to be less affordable for students, which counteracts what we're trying to accomplish here by trying to make it more of a student resource. And. And I think that. ECLC will be able to. Take that hit, it's just. Less students will use it, and then, is my thinking, and then more staff will use it. And then. Reduces what we want to do first. Yeah, but if we did, which. If we did decide to reduce it from 50% to a 20% reduction, then that would just make it a lot. I understand that that would make it a lot harder to find that extra money. And so I understand that, but I do think these still significant value for students.
Oscar?
As a student, I can't afford it. Just to let you know.
Other discussion? Oscar, any other discussion?
Um, like, do you guys have kids?
No,
No,
So there you go. At 1 out of 6 students only has kids.
Nothing.
There's no more discussion. Is there a recommendation?
recommend to keep the 50% reduction.
Any other recommendation?
Recommendation to give them the full amount that they requested, which is a 20% reduction from prior set.
Can you repeat that? I couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah, recommendation to give them the full amount that they requested, which is a 20% reduction from prior cycle.
Any other recommendations? All right, current recommendations are the to keep the current 15% reduction, and the next recommendation is to reduce the reduction to 20%. Sorry, it's like yeah. All those in favor, oh, sorry, calling for a division of the committee, all those in favor of the 50% reduction, leaving as is, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those against?
Yeah.
All right, looks like that recommendation passes 5 to 1 to 0. Is there any other discussion? Okay, is there a motion to close debate?
Motion to close, yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of closing debate on ECLC budget, please say aye.
Aye.
yeah, I sorry.
The ayes have it, the floor is closed. Next item is ASCW Senate budget. Is there a motion to open debate on this budget?
No, I see W send.
Okay, your second,
I'll second.
any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, vote in debate on ASCW Senate budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Oscar, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ayes have it, the floor is open.
Clarification, if I may, Marisol, it's, Aaron can explain more, but there was a mistake in that, I think it was last night, the board called, and that in addition, they were not billed, and now they currently are billed.
And are we going over all the ACW sections or?
Just the items.
Just the. Just which one?
Yeah.
The-
Number 5 on the.
Oh,
the 13.7, it's all of things.
Oh, I also put my fines in the sheet, so now it shows, okay,
That's what I was like 50%.
yeah. Now the decreases really are negatives.
Oh.
I'll be updating for what is their communication.
They're asking for an increase.
Yes.
They do, like, they may get a flow with the 10% here, like maybe 10.5.
And. Everybody. When we originally submitted our budgets, I think there was a miscommunication. The ACW said it was supposed to be 20% reduction on their increase. And then the board of directors was supposed to be 50%. But since the way it was submitted is 20%, the ACW said it was looking for the on the increase, 20% reduction, not the 15. And then I just got that confirmed. I think there was miscommunication there, but the 16.76. The other percent.
So they would want to increase it by 11%
Yes,
from the original.
that makes sense.
I think so.
Like a reduction on the increase would be 11%. Yes.
16.
Well, that 16 is actually an increase, but so they want to increase by 11%.
Originally, we were going to do a 20% reduction. So that's what it would have been. That makes sense.
So the increase is 66,187. That's what the request is. And last year's request is 56,623 from 40.
The supplemental number.
Also, you're thinking of the 4 years ago plus all that stuff. No, it's not the case. So what are they asking?
I believe that was
66,187. Okay.
which. Okay, sorry, let me just, so that, 16% increase is the previously requested plus what was asked for by S&A. It was based on the supplemental funding that was asked for S&A. Yeah. And then a 20% reduction from both of those numbers. Yeah. And then that's how you get to a plus 16. Yes. Okay. That makes sense.
I'm tracking that.
Yeah.
Back at.
Nick, do you know? I feel like do you know what a reduction of that increase would look like? That would specifically affect the senator's programming budget first. So that would affect their $250 as well as the general programming budget. That's used for some state. So that's what it would touch first. And if the reduction goes further, then the part of and it's going to focus what's also the wages for the senators. So it would affect the engine kind of to that if the reduction got further.
6,127 to say 1630.
I had a question. Did they explain why they only traveled in 2024 and not in 2022 and 3?
Hondo mentioned it, but I don't remember what it was.
And I think that was before 9 times, but I don't have a specific answer.
I don't think it's, yeah, so the same question. I don't know, somewhere. It out.
Yeah, students said it wouldn't necessarily have, they wouldn't have a travel budget per se, so. For motor pool.
And then I also wanted to like because I think I missed this presentation and because their goods from 2022 and 2023 were like under like 3,000 and then it jumped to like 12,000 on 2024.
So a lot of the times when you all see that, that is partial COVID. Because back in 2022, we weren't like doing as much in person still, and that engagement, which I think is what the senator's budget is, a lot of that is for, is the events that they do. So ramping up, like, you know, between 2022 and 2023. But then, yeah, 2024 is much higher. And,
Same thing with the supplies.
yeah, I'm looking at that and the goods.
Mm-hmm. That's like over almost 20,000 in just goods and supplies. Pretty much about.
Yeah, we need to think about like. About Carl's building.
And that largely went to SBCD as well as the senators programming events. And I believe the travel was also part of the I did that. So I believe that's where a large cost of services and goods and travel specifically. And senator,
Was it one event?
yes.
And I believe, if I'm correct, it's we see to it's not being combined.
Yes.
And these are for Switzerland.
Yeah. This year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
State combined or future? Would that help us reduce this number?
Yes.
Then we could go to 63 instead of 66.
It's always a possibility. Well, we decided, we could say if they get 0, but that's not gonna happen.
Any other discussion?
Oscar, do you have any other discussion?
Yeah, I was looking at the tracker. Yeah, I know you guys were trying to. I couldn't hear what you guys were explaining, but is this on the tracker right here? The one that's right here says ASCWU Senate. Is that the same one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're asking for more from because they requested 56, and then they're requesting 66, so that's up instead of down.
Correct.
So I recommend a 20% deduction from the 66 127. That's what I recommend.
Any other discussion?
All right, I was just.
And then, Marisol, what you're proposing would be 48. And 11% increase instead of 60.
To
So-
63.
Yeah, so that would be a 11% increase instead of 6.2.
I just said 13.2 thousand. Because
Oh,
that's
oh,
20%.
the reduction.
Which is 52.
Any other discussion?
I think we should still consider those wage increases that didn't happen. Stuff too, it's not like a 5% work, but could maybe just make it at 0. That's there.
The reason for my deduction would be if the Sweezy Day and the other event were kept as like done together as opposed to having different. It's. For different events, whatever.
Any other discussion? Oscar, do you have any other discussion
No discussion.
or recommendation?
That-
What?
No, you got it.
Recommendation to reduce what they're asking for to 63, 126.
Any other recommendation?
Yeah, I recommend for them to take a 20% deduction.
Off of their current request,
Yeah, the current request.
okay.
Any other recommendations?
Recommendation to fully fund their request. 66. 66 million.
Any other recommendation?
My recommendation is to.
We got a lot of recommendations.
I just recommend make it either an increase or decrease. Same.
Any other recommendation? The current recommendations are reduce the ask to 63,127. Second, reduce their current budget by 20% or their current ask. Third is to fully fund their budget. And fourth, to neither increase or decrease their budget. For division of committee, all those in favor of reducing their ask to 63,124, please say aye. All against?
And
Nay.
All stable. All right, the second recommendation, actually, or. Oh, yeah. I'll just. I guess there is other options for this, so I'll just read them. Okay, all those in favor of the 20% reduction of their current budget, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right, all those in favor of fully funding their budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Nay.
All those in favor of neither increasing nor decreasing their budget, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
Kind of makes sense because we all wanted.
That's where I would say I would vote. If I.
It looks like the closest ones were,
I know it, reduction.
it looks like the closest reductions were down to 63,127 into fully fund their request. Right here was. Is there any discussion?
Say that the 63 is still above what they requested there last time, but it's still high enough where it meets what they're asking for, you know what I mean? It's not too low, but it's also not there yet. It's right in the middle.
Any other discussion? Oscar, any discussion?
Yeah, so looking at the breakdown and like how the travel increased a lot over the 3 years and the supplies of the goods. And also, I think it was some of the I couldn't I gotta look at it again. But I think I know I recommended 20%, but they should take at least like a 10 to 15% deduction for like having like I want to say because of the it's just it's like a lot of expense from that's not like I can't it doesn't really explain how do you go from 0 to 7,000 in travel, and then you go from 0 to 4,000 in services, and then you go from 2,000 to 12,000 in goods. So I think by reducing them a little, they could kind of adjust their spending on these areas.
Any other?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say that I think that a $3,000, um, yes, decrease, would be, I feel like kind of substantial for, and they do provide a lot of, vital, like, I think they provide involvement and engagement with students, and I think that that's important. And looking for deductions, I think that $3,000 decrease here is going to hurt a lot more than a $3,000 decrease somewhere else. And I think that that will definitely hurt student engagement a lot more than some other departments. So that's the only reason why I would be leaning to fully funding it. But if that doesn't pass, I would vote for 3,000.
Any other discussion? Oscar, any other discussion?
No discussion.
Right, looks like the only two standing are reducing the ask down to 63,127 and to fully fund the request. Calling for division, all those in favor of reducing their ask down to 63,127, please say aye. All those against?
Hey,
And all those in favor of fully funding the request, please say aye. All those against?
nay.
Like the recommendation to fully fund their current request. Passes. Is there any discussion? It passes 3-2 to 1. Any discussion?
No, just keep it at the 66.
Oh, okay.
So no change, just the those.
Right,
Right, is there any other discussion? Okay, is there a motion to close debate?
Motion to close the,
Is there a second? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of closing debate, please say aye.
Aye.
Let's have it, the floor is closed. Last item on our docket is KCW budget. Is there a motion to open debate?
Motion to open debate on KCW budget.
Is there a second?
All second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of opening debate on KCW budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, the floor is open.
We originally agreed on the 2,300 reduction. Both of those pretty close, 3-2 to 1.
Where's this? Oh, I have it.
What's ended that? Right, Oscar has been here.
KCW, I have, yeah, I believe it's a reduction in 3.
Those who voted today, that's not voting, so they get the name. If you're important.
Okay. Like, is that some overlaps with other programs?
That was the sports network.
Oh, okay.
Which we already had a program.
I like the similar, but it comfort dividend, that's what I meant.
With this, 20% budget reduction is what. And there. What do they, I guess, get communication? They can answer.
You're looking at almost the 20% reduction with. Call them to be started and how the ability to post as many. 20% is what they gave us.
Didn't they just 18?
I don't think matches what we have. Here. 419. Oh, yes, we did bring them down to 20. You're right. Oh. What they thought would have built in five. Yeah, they were talking with our. Yes, they recently bought. Themselves from surplus, so they're very confused. Able to then replace some of the equipment. And the biggest issue I see is the past 2 years they haven't spent their full budget.
Telling about it and get it.
Oh,
Aaron, where are we on?
Oh, I wanted to include what I said like 2 days ago. If you guys really look like at the past expenses, in 2024 it was 451, and then the deduction they're taking, 1 second. Their original request for this year is 595, and then they're taking a 20% off of that. But in 2024, their spending was 4 and some change. So they asked for more and then did a 20%. So they're like kind of really not taking a 20%. If that makes sense.
Can I just want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly, Oscar. You're looking at,
2024. Yeah.
and rather than looking at what they were allocated, you're looking at what they spent.
All expenses. Yeah.
And looking at if you took a 20%
From that.
from what you spent rather than what you received.
Exactly.
I think that,
And I think a lot of the things they did that, and like they're, it looks like they're taking a deduction, but it's they just requested more this year, and it looks like they got a reduction, but I think we should be going off of last year's expenses.
does that make sense to you guys, what, the point that Oscar is making and, looking at rather than a reduction of what they asked for, because a portion of that, some of them got rolled back. But looking at like, are you actually budgeting to reduce what you're spending? Rather than budgeted to reduce what you're getting. And where that makes a difference is if you had an area that had a lot of unspent funds before.
If I remember correctly, in your information, I believe some of the money that was unspent because there was a vacant position for a certain amount of time within KCWU. They've since retired.
Oh, what year do you?
I went there last year, 2024.
Those are part. I think it was student, right?
No, it was, their.
And was that, anyway, no one might have this, but was that position filled in 2023? And, so the thing that I see is that in, 2023, they were given, or they had total expenses of 512, which is, in line with the prior request of 511. And, in 2024, they did have lower expenses of 451, but that, as previously mentioned, was due to a position not being filled. So I don't think that they have a ton of like money that they're just not spending is to my knowledge and what I'm seeing. So I don't think that a 20% reduction to what they're spending would be accurate to because the position.
Would agree.
Okay, so on here, their total expenses 451 for FY 24. And, they are asking for 419. They are asking for less than what they spend.
And we're looking at giving them 409.
419. And in answer to your question, you all are down to 50,000. Yeah, you're getting there.
If we don't get to like down to like, cause this is the last one of the last ones, right? Could we
For this
reopen?
docket.
Yes, could we open up another docket? Just,
We're here until you all.
We finish. Until Mia gets up and leaves.
I've seen the big band for like 17 pages long, so. So then we're thinking maybe possibly I'm just proposing this idea. Then after this docket, we take a little din break.
Yep. I can conclude.
Okay.
Sure. That's what I'm looking for.
Staying with what we
We need to make a recommendation. Where's everyone sitting right now?
They didn't spend.
Some part was due to a staff. vacancy. So they probably were close, they would have been close to spending their. You have that knowledge.
And even in the midway card, they had more that they left. That's kind of
I mean, we are already giving them 45,000 less than we spent last year. Good budget.
Does anyone have that position?
We'd have to look at last year's.
It was part of their budget because they have not increased their staff. So they've always got three permanent staff. Yeah. three. Another thing that changed for them that they mentioned in their presentation is that when they did rehire, they had to rehire that position at a higher grade, at a higher step in the range of where that position fell, so that was more.
Any other questions?
That's just the last thing I think of. Going down as is. Considering that, like, we just. Mentioned that they need new equipment. Place the aging. It's one of those that could
I think the school radio is essential for the school and everything. Like it's for then and the it also like provides information to the town. Like it's very important, and I know like some things break and some things mess up and it changes the budget. Um but like when I was referring to the things I was saying, I wasn't just disclosing this one. I know we were just talking about this docket, but to like for our reduction that we're trying to hit, like if like how one of the um uh, said that maybe if we open another docket to try to help the budget and kind of use the same information that I shared with you guys and kind of like look at what they spent the prior year to what they're asking this year and kind of like maybe we can fix the budget and that way we don't feel like we're taking too much from someone or someone that was supposed to take a reduction and didn't get it. I think we can kind of go that way.
But it's not also understandable not to take any actions on this one specifically, but was that like they could get certain funding and then come in here. So, although this one specifically is already taken. Yeah, like possible make sure.
Any other discussion? Oscar, any other discussion?
That's all.
Recommendation?
Recommendation to reduce their, or to give them 20% of their previous request, which is the 409 that was previously, sorry,
Keep as is.
yeah, keep as
That are
is.
formed.
Any other recommendation? All right, the current recommendation is to keep their budget as is. On revision, all those in favor of keeping their budget reduction as is, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, that recommendation passes, 6-0. Right, is there any other discussion? Okay, is there a motion to close debate?
Motion to close debate.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of closing debate on KCWU budget, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, debate is closed. So we need to take a break. Is there a motion to recess?
Motion to recess for dinner. Sorry.
All right, the current motion is to recess for 30 minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All right, all those in favor of taking a recess of 30 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Right, the ayes have it, we'll reconvene. All right, so it looks like we just finished our docket. Moving on to KCWU. I am entertaining a new docket. I'll give you a few moments to look over any specific programs, budgets, see what you're talking.
Can we start suggesting now or? You want to?
You guys wanna, since Oscar wasn't here, can you just briefly talk about that process so that he's familiar with what we're doing?
Oscar, can you hear me? Where's Oscar?
Yeah.
So, last time you were here, we did a different kind of structure to how we're like recommending budgets. And this time we have a different way to do it. What we're doing first is creating a docket and kind of just, like everyone in the committee is telling me what they want to talk about. And then we can rearrange the order, to what you guys see fit based on priorities. And then we have like a debate, and then we recommend, we don't actually dwell on anything. And then we close debate, and then we move on to the next item in the docket, It's just like a priority list that we're making essentially. Do you have any questions about that?
No, I see, I was just reviewing everything you guys voted on, and yeah, no, everything looks pretty understandable.
Feel free to tell me which programs or budgets you want to have in the docket as a priority while we're discussing what we want to talk about.
Okay.
Can we discuss the, user version? And can we also do the art gallery?
I'd like to revisit career services website.
Any other recommendations?
Reading.
We have Observer, Polls, Art Gallery, Career Services website.
Also, off topic, does anyone want the rest of my fries?
Did you guys do the West Side one?
I was, yeah.
With, the career services or the
Yeah.
center?
The career services?
Yeah, they have that on the docket.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Aaron, do you know what our number is?
We are, getting to reduce another $49,910, which is 0.8776%. 0.8776%.
You just find it.
And if you guys are,
Oh.
on the worksheet, it's that amount right in front of you. So that's the option two. If you were at any point looking to revisit option one, you would need to have another 261,000.
Any other items? Okay, so the current docket reads as Observer, Polls, Art Gallery, Career Services West Side, and Veteran Center. Is there a specific order that start? Is there a motion to open debate on Observer budget? There a second? I'll second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of opening debate on Observer budget, please say aye. Oscar, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, ayes have it. For the.
Very first.
I actually would have found it.
Not the current reduction back there.
The current reduction was 35.71%. And that was the, option 3 that they provided, I think one behind you, it was the no printing costs that they provided. That would also create an increase in budget.
You brought up if we're paying a salary, we only pay student.
No, it's under COM communications. We are part of the top. I kind of tried to lump some of them together.
So it does list here that they have a minimum of 8 student employees, not 2 employees. That makes me curious. Yeah. They have 17 unique positions, or unique students taking comp for 44. I feel like they all take on paid positions, it looks like. Oh, I'm sorry, never mind, I'm reading that incorrectly. Students who take on leadership roles with their paid positions. And the observers take comp for 44 more than once.
Which is not. Paying for that is not allowed.
Yeah, and I feel like of the ones that were academic time, this was one of the ones we looked at. It's on.
And yeah, part of me, the reason why I wanted to revisit it is because I know that this was one of the earlier ones we talked about, so I know we had a lot more to like, you know, money to kind of like throw around it versus, but now seeing that we're so close to hitting our budget and this does conflict with killing guidelines. I would entertain the idea to not fund this because of this, we're paying, or the salaries are for students in leadership roles, but they're taking communication for 44, correct?
Yeah, they have to take it twice.
And impermiss from the current guidelines, an impermissible use of S&A fees is curriculum development activities. And it dives deeper in, but that's obviously you're developing. Is there curriculum?
We'd already cut them down to 36. 246. They asked for 56,375, so we've already made like the reduction. As we're revisiting and reviewing the guidelines. Are we considering going further down to 36 or completely denying their request?
Because it conflicts with billing guidelines, we would fully deny. Unless we can find any portion that's being fundable, like we did with Pulse. We said that having their online web hosting was acceptable because it helps with the program. if we didn't do that, the program would. most likely was the same. And also it's already class and still technically, yeah.
This one has.
Yeah, there's an award section on the Observer, 2026 to 2029 S&A budget model. And that is,
The server has no digital. They're not digitalized.
They are. Yeah. I read it on. So is there any part of this that you all?
yeah, I'm looking at, currently I'm looking at, the award section, which is, 1,100, and that's what they anticipate, and that's what they have budgeted for awards. And if we did the same thing that we did with Pulse, which was just to fund their award section, because Pulse was, I think it was $2,000, and if we use the same logic with that, we just fund them for $1,100 for the awards, because that does fall under a permissible use of S&A fees, because you're allowed to, you're allowed to give a, give for participation, or unless it's an award for which one has, competed in one. So you're allowed to give a, that kind of difference.
So like before.
So their off-campus renting alone. 25,634.
That's what we cut the first time.
And that left us with 36.
There's actually-
It's 36 that we left.
Wages, rental, subscriptions, or et cetera. They currently have 17 unique students in their class. I think that's as of fall.
Do we have anything on what's the like minimum amount of students we're allowed to keep running?
And I guess still have students. Without. It's for pay. But they should have, sure, do it for. They like a minimum of eight. Is what's listed. That's what the agreement is. If the killing guidelines conflict with us paying their wages. We can't pay their wages. Which would leave us to find anything we can fund, which is leaning towards just the awards and subscriptions.
Okay.
1,100.
Get another one.
I'm saving more money. We can start more goal.
It would save us another 35,000.
They're trying. If they're doing awards system. Because the travel would be to. It would have been it's, but
Yeah, the national, whatever.
You will be funding that in the base money or something.
I would argue supplemental, just because. Say if all of the people. That come up and are wanting to go to the trip. Like we talked about last time, like. Feels unfair to only have the senior students allowed to go on the trip versus a freshman and a senior. So I would prefer it to be supplemental, you go case by case on that.
I'm going to make one point of clarification. We're talking about it because you have been very equitable. But I just want to make sure that you all are referring to the priorities too. So that's going to affect the most amount of students.
Previously when we talked about this, and did have very fair. Mostly done some examinations, do a lot to the issues that yes, no matter what the story may be. So you do not pay their salary. And we don't fund the printing as well. Specifically digital and specifically the students that are able to work on this. So it would very much diminish those for the foreseeable future. So that's another aspect of this. And you know, the opinion references that inevitably impact students and their ability to reach out to populations. And so that's why I advocated for at the bare minimum, the settlements, because again, as Nick said, it's.
Any other discussion?
Or do you have anything to add about his river?
No, not really.
Recommendation to fund $1,100 in accordance with their budget model to fund their awards. $1,100 funded.
Is there another recommendation? Alright, so there's no recommendations, or no more recommendations, sorry. The current recommendation is to fund $1,100 from their budget model for their award. For the award section of their budget model. Calling for division. All those in favor of this recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The recommendation passes 6-0 to 0. Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Very sad.
They still have to get.
This is at the end of the day, just a recommendation too. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any discussion? Great, is there a motion to close debate?
Motion to close debate.
For a second? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of closing debate, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have
Aye.
it. Sorry. The ayes have it, the floor is closed. Next item is polls. Is there a motion to open debate?
Motion to open debate on polls.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of opening debate on polls budget, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is open.
I was the one who wanted us to revisit it, but currently, as you know, if we just do kind of what we did with the observer, I don't really see any big change that we would make, and I don't see us changing the 2,000 personally, so I'm okay with closing the debate and everyone else. Any other discussion? Oscar, sorry.
No, I think everything's fine with the polls.
There a recommendation?
Recommendation to keep the current recommendation on.
Any other recommendations? All right, the current recommendation is to keep the current recommendation. For division, all those in favor of keeping the current recommendation for polls budget, please say aye.
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 Right, the recommendation passes 6-0 to 0. Is there any discussion? All right, is there a motion to close debate on polls budget?
Motion to close the debate on polls budget.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of closing debate on polls budget, please say aye.
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 The ayes have it, the floor is closed. That was really fast. Aaron, what number are we at?
Just under 15. 0.2%. Five.
we're looking over three. The current doctor comes as art gallery. Cooper West Side, Veteran Center. All right, the next item on our docket is the art gallery. Is there a motion to open up, is there a motion to open the floor on art gallery budget?
Motion to open.
For a second? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of opening the debate on art gallery budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, the floor is open.
In which day is this on?
I know originally they were looking at an increase, to me, brought it down to within zero.
And we can help answer the previous question. One result in 2 hours for super increase, the elimination of one position, and the reduction lasting 2 or more years. Few recipients could be planned such as 5 recipients are not going to be here instead of 6. So this would effectively eliminate one position and reduce it to 5 instead of 6. In reducing other areas will be that we had to reduce some of the areas. We have other functions and that's that those are my thoughts.
I would agree with that. Out of our priority list, I feel this falls one over.
Any other discussion?
And then just looking at their spending over the last few years, they're only spending 19,000. We're giving them 31 currently. So I would have no issue reducing this.
Any other discussion?
The amount that you just mentioned is.
Today. Okay. Yes, they did it. Got it. Yes, you are correct.
And they also have self-support funds and other funds received. Could you remember what those?
They get a. State. When they have like their foundation.
And I believe we, last time we discussed this and then possibly taking a action, we had talked about how they might be able to charge for the exhibits, for them. So, I wouldn't be opposed to doing a 20% reduction. Which would bring them to $60 and then we'll look to doing something like that. And that would make me feel better about giving them that reduction because I think they'll still be able to thrive.
How many did they say? They have, or did they say per quarter or per year? Well, I recall of it. 40,000 annually. I was just saying for the total. Yeah, so even if they were to charge $2, the person that comes in at home makes such a difference for everybody. $2. Yeah. But you get 5, they actually make more money than what we're cutting. One of the numbers that I might be getting this mixed up. But say one. People on campus.
It's predominantly CWU students.
Oh, yes,
Is what it says.
Just a point of clarification, our recommendation, but we don't get to say how they make up the
Yeah.
difference, so you all can speculate however you'd like, but. We don't get to make a recommendation on how they make up for what we reduce.
Correct.
Yeah, brought to ask. Where did it say that? They can charge and service.
We had just discussed, it doesn't say that.
Student. Well, it's student undergrad. Well, and undergrad and grad, exhibits during spring quarter, so like fall and winter. So that is where like they were explaining that what they spend goes into being able to afford those artists staying over. They need to set up type of thing. That's another factor. Other than that, I'm agreeing.
Any other discussion?
If I remember correctly, during the presentation, Marisol did ask about, because they. Oh, no, this is. I keep on finding, I think they have a donation box, but.
I think it's important to, like, as Robbie mentioned, and kind of going off that, it's important to not assume how the effects will happen, because, or what the effects will be, because we really have no idea what the restructuring will look like. So it's kind of nice to speculate, because I think it makes us feel better how it will impact them. However, it's important to not make a recommendation based on an assumption, and rather on the policies and healing guidelines that keeps it more black and white, rather than thinking about how it would
And that's just keeping it black and white. I feel this is a non-priority. It does affect quite a few students, but in reference to other organizations, other areas, I feel this is not as important as necessary.
Do a 20% reduction based on their current cost, it would be below their price. It would be 28. If their request. They said they were only gonna, they're gonna be having one less exhibit and one less. Okay. Now there's like a whole part of it. Potentially. And I don't say that could be a possibility, just saying that this number is. But I think. Right.
Any other discussion? Oscar, any discussion?
No discussion. Hey, you guys, defunded this program, correct? Am I correct?
We matched their prior year's request.
Oh, okay. I must have looked at something else. My bad.
So currently, the recommendation was $31,950. And now we're looking at dropping them to $25,560.
Oh, I agree.
Any other discussion?
Between two.
Are you-
So that's people of that major, and this is something that they can develop their skills with, because they only present general spring quarter, so they have prior quarters that impact their education.
Any other discussion? Is there a recommendation?
recommendation to lower their funding.
Any other recommendation?
Recommendation to reduce their funding from the prior cycle by 10%.
Any other recommendation? Two recommendations are to lower their budget down to $28,240. The other recommendation is to reduce their prior funding cycle by 20%. On for division. All those in favor of lowering their budget down to 28,240, please say aye. All those against?
Nay.
Right, all those in favor of reducing their budget down to the prior, it's down to the prior cycle to 20%, please say aye.
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 All those against? All right, it looks like the recommendation to reduce their prior funding cycle by 20% passes 5-1-0. Is there any discussion?
Can I just clarify that that was what their recommended amount, 25,560.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion to close debate on art gallery, its art gallery budget? Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Go ahead.
All those in favor of closing debate on art gallery budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it, the floor is closed. We are at our halfway point of our docket. We do have 2 more items. Would you guys like to take a break? Our. Oh, wait. Just gonna take. You want me to say? It's our shot break. All right, the next item on our docket is Career Services West Side. Is there a motion to open debate? Oh, is it?
Oh, well, I thought that's what was just.
And then you could vote.
I don't wanna like slow everyone else down, I just wanna go to the back.
No, it's like Robert's rules, so.
I think you do that.
Well, if no one else like needs a break, I just need to.
Great.
I think we need to break, okay. Motion. Motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of taking a 5-minute recess, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, reconvene at 7:36. All right, I call this meeting back to order at 7:37. Right, left off at Career Services West Side. Is there a motion to open debate on their budget?
Most of the debate on career service.
There is a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of opening debate on Career Services West Side, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is open.
So I originally wanted to revisit this because we did only bring them down to 16% reduction. We are still looking at a little bit more. So I was going to revisit it to see if a 20% reduction would cause that much of a difference.
I think that this, amount in here is at like 10% reduction.
Um, I just wanted to like point out, like, this doesn't serve all of CWU. This just serves like a portion of CWU students.
Correct.
So Walker, just so you know, career services, this is just the west side budget, but career services does have main campus that does staff and serve students on the east side and the west side. So even though it says career services west side, it's just because the two staff are located on the west side, but they do serve all students.
Okay.
Their focus is the west side because that's where they're located, but they do serve all students.
If I'm doing the numbers right, the past 2 years, they've left money that they didn't use.
The last thing. That is the last one. Yeah. Yeah, that's 73.99.
Yes.
That was what came back. Good.
Yes. Given that the last years they had. That they didn't use their full budget, that's the potential as to. I don't want to. Minimize numbers or match the numbers because like wages go up and all that. But that's what.
It does look like that's in part due to their staff salaries going down by 20,000. I'm not sure if they had vacancy. Could buy it out. Why? No, but I can't remember what it was. I think we asked about it and I can't remember if it was a vacancy or if they decide actually to sunset the shit outright.
And I think that these are the positions that are hands-on. And this budget only pays for those. They also have a state budget that pays for the rest of the staff.
So. One of the very great comment is. One for it is not 20% of their prior request, nor their.
What side students, and it would also affect their programming for those students. If we find it. Not finding that.
It's under W. I found it, that's what I think. West side, oh, no, I'm sorry, that's wrong, that's west side street light. Maybe they didn't have their session.
They did.
It's also.
Under,
Weird search, west side.
yeah, so it's under speeding. You want mine?
I think that I
Okay, it's 3 pages.
and where would they meet, by the way, or where would they meet with the students? Is that-
I think that they meet virtually and probably at those centers that they're physically located at.
Well, I was just, because we. Sorry. That's all I was supposed to say. Well, then the reason why I did that is because we decided to fully defund the centers. So, I'm just wondering. If like how would they be able to meet and if they're not able to meet in person, which was the reason, or which. They're going, if they take a reduction, they're gonna be hit, as Nick said, they're not gonna be able to meet. In person, right, is that? And if we defunded their centers, I wonder how they would meet, even if we funded them. The center's budget was specifically for the ambassadors. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Right, there's 2 center budget,
Yeah.
one is for the, activity.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll still, they would still have a presence at those centers, and. So, you know.
Not defund the centers.
Sorry, Lauren, sorry. Yeah. I think that's what the budget class is called, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, my bad, that's because I saw centers and I was kind of wondering like, if we aren't funding that, then.
That's a really great question, honestly, because it is very confusing, some of these, and especially the names where it's like, you want to keep the names consistent, but they're misleading, so it's a very good question. Thank you, and any clarifying questions you all have at this, point in the game, then please. Yeah.
My brain has no more room back.
Right.
That's the thing.
What are the 2 positions called again?
They are,
An assistant director and a career counselor. So they both serve in doing career counselor appointments and hosting events on site. For students on the west side as well as virtually, and they do help for meeting side students as well. What is their virtual employment is? Yeah. Like that sounds like, oh my gosh, I wanna go see what that is like.
A little bit of insight. A average salary for a director is 81,000.
So the salaries and benefits, so is 2 positions plus benefits. CWU has to pay 37% of somebody's salary in benefits to insurance. I'm sorry, health insurance, dental insurance, retirement, all that. So that is why the number 174 is 2 positions, but also their benefits.
So there are is that salary split between both of them, or does the assistant director get more than the career counselor, or do we have data of that, or we don't?
We have that data to say. You could make a generalization that an assistant director would make a higher wage than a career counselor. But that 174 is for both positions.
So the students that are impacted ones is over on the very big side. Third single. But they do their quite active.
That would be reduced. If we reduce their time, that's where they would pull that from.
They're fine, yeah.
Yeah. It would.
That I will those workshops, or sorry, I don't know. I don't, I don't know.
Any other discussion?
I'm interested what they mean by there would be no direct contact with the career counselor at the centers. Is that just from they're traveling to centers, meet face to face?
Well, I thought. Cause they have them on site. They must be traveling between them, yeah. And I'm trying to, what I've been looking for is if they give like numbers of how many people actually specifically attended in person one, because I know one other thing, they also determined that. Vast majority of the center students are predominantly online, which makes me wonder how many actually are going in person stuff versus. Then on Zoom meeting. They do a fair amount.
It's 39.
The workshops, presentation, and then that's his 36. But so you're.
Well. Personally, I think that's just.
I'm assuming that the 26, 29 is their program. And given that they have. um, 36 minutes. Originally, like, half of it. Um, it's out to be, but.
My clarification. Oh, go ahead, Erin.
Say 174,000, that is salary.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll also add that this was wrong. You might remember that this amount was wrong. They had actually requested 158,500 in their actual, that's on their budget here. And when we asked that, she said, no, it's the original amount is what they want. So they're asking for 158,500. So that's what they're asking for, which doesn't actually, really match up with what was on the screen because, this isn't even enough to pay for the 174,000 in salary that we had up there. So I think I would maybe go off of this one.
And this is what's in.
Yeah,
Currently, we reduced it by 16.15%. So our recommended was 142,600.
Well, if you click into D7, just for funsies, a lot of times I'll put things in a formula to jar my memory, and so what we did was the 10% reduction from what they asked. Yeah,
Any other questions?
Spreadsheet, they have no student payroll.
right.
Their services are towards the students. But there's no like students leave. I feel like students are second. In this case, like, we're not directly impacting like the number of hours or the amount of students that are working. Or impacting the amount of resources that these students are getting.
We reduce the resources they're getting because there's things related, like there's, yeah. Oh, sorry, sorry, it's the.
You're good. We don't need to apologize.
I understand your point.
Yeah.
It's like, it isn't, it's not something that actually goes into students' pockets, it's something like, it's like yeah, it's like an investment, like, I don't know, it's like.
It's a service.
Service. Yeah.
So essentially, by decreasing them by 20%, we would be removing their 5,000 for goods and services and reducing the employees to 0.8, I believe. So
Well, you would just be reducing the funding, kind of like what you were talking about earlier. And then that would be up to the department to maybe absorb some of that into their other budgets or make those kind of decisions.
I was just going off what they said.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd reduce both of them to 10 months, which would be full-time.
Academic years.
Yeah. And I thought that they had in their presentation that they were already attending.
Until black end. So bring them both.
And was it this one that they mentioned, like, they planned during the summer, so they wouldn't have as much time to plan it, that start of the year?
Yeah.
That was in the communications received that I got.
I think that slide is incorrect. Because in the communication received, it says 11 to 1.0 full time.
Yeah. That was,
I just kind of wanted to revisit it to see if there was wiggle room for it. After revisiting, I'm not positive on that. I'd like to hear what all of us think.
Yeah, it's because if we do, remove this, it would further impact their ability to service students. And it would reduce the number of students outreach they can do and number of students they can handle these workshops. And that's, I mean, our extra services, providing these services to students that will further them service, their professional skills, their advanced skills, so on and so forth. So I would recommend 16. 10% like that, or 16.15 that they're currently at.
There's also very few things that are important. Not all the campuses. Are still paying.
Any other discussion?
No,
Their recommendation?
Recommend to leave the current reduction as is at 16.25%.
Any other recommendations? Okay, the recommendation is to leave the current budget at a reduction of 16.5%. On for division of committee, all those in favor? this recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the recommendation passes 6-0. Any discussion?
I'd just like to clarify 16.1.
Oh.
There's not.
15.
1.5.
Oh, 1-5.
Yes.
Leave the current budget at a reduction of 16. 1-5.
We're looking for 8374.6. 8,300.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, what we.
You're going the wrong way.
Any discussion?
I feel like it'd be rough being on a 10-month cycle. Yeah, if you could afford it, that would be cool, because you have 2 months vacation.
And is there a motion to end debate?
Motion to end the debate.
Any discussion, any seconds? 1 second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of ending debate on career services west side budget, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is closed. Next on our docket is the Veteran Center budget. Is there a motion to open debate?
Motion to debate, there's budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'll second.
Oh. All right, all those in favor of opening debate on Veteran Center budget, please say aye. Oscar, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, the floor is open.
There's some.
It is the last thing.
This is January 31st.
Yeah, and we, they did a 20% reduction of the fully.
And it went back up.
Hopefully, they can get.
I was just wondering if we, like we do. There's a difference.
They hired a new.
So on this one, the staff wages on here, it only pays for one portion of their outreach coordinator. And I'm not sure, I think. I'm not sure if that position is new, if it was vacant for a little bit, but it's like, I think maybe a quarter of one FTE.
Because I understand, I think a lot of the employee positions are fully subsidized by the VA. In a lot of cases, there's some positions that.
Yeah.
But
They
Well-
get a lot of different funding in a different budget, and this one is, specifically for that. Percentage of FTE, for that outreach. Yeah, it's very complicated. Um,
Side of the. They have. And they have been. They haven't finished. Parity of one.
So I can speak to that, that up until FY 23, the rule of S&A was that anything unspent. They could keep rolling it forward, and so like if you have 5,000 from year one, then you can add that to what you spend in year two. At the end of, 23 was when the committee, enrollment was down, it was kind of an emergency in a way. And that was when the committee said, no, everything that's left at the end of the year comes back. And so for Veterans Center, was one that, had thought that they could, because it's kind of a practice for a lot of these areas. And I'm sure someone in the audience can commiserate with this, then they weren't able to spend it. And so it was probably, I can't say for sure, and it's speculating, but my understanding was that it was intentional, and then they lost that ability to use it.
Any further discussion? Oscar, any discussion?
No discussion.
Recommendation to leave veterans at the 20% reduction.
Is there another recommendation? Our recommendation is to the Veteran Center budget at the current 20% reduction. Calling for division, all those in favor of this recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, it looks like that recommendation passes 5-0 to 1. Is there any discussion? Okay, is there a motion to close debate?
Motion to close debate on veterans center.
Any seconds?
Thanks.
Any discussion? Oh, wait. Okay. All right, all those in favor of closing the debate on Veteran Center budget, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is closed. I am looking for docket recommendations. Is there any recommendations?
Life camps activities.
Any other recommendations?
Aaron and I were talking during our dinner break, and if we went through to some of the bigger items, just did a 1% reduction on top of what they currently have. We would hit for the budget. Yeah. That's smart. But I don't know if that's something we want to look into, but it is something we could.
What would fall under, big ticket item?
Looking at something like the MCC, they have a 20% reduction right now, we're doing 21%. That would take it up another. 4.9 thousand.
How are we thinking for the survey?
Yeah, they're doing it off the fire request, so that's another. My point. And
Yeah, we could do. I could do something figuring out if it was like distributed across all of them. You guys look at groups, there's, group student government, group. $8,170.
Subsidies or something, be approved for full funding.
They got their total amount, what they asked for, but that was 20%.
Oh. That's right.
Than what they got.
And then you reduce the publicity another 2%.
I think it'd be potentially a kind of a fair way to do it, just because it feel a little less leverage picking off small ones, things like that too. Right, I think.
So the bigger ones.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that too, because I think we've really established what. Like the big things that need to be funded, and I feel like everything that has funding. Kind of needs to be funded, so we can't, I feel like. If we go through more things, we're just gonna come to the same conclusion, we're like. We're gonna talk about it, but then it's going to be like, this needs to be funded to the full amount that. To what we previously said, and I think if we do 1%. Across the board, it will definitely be an easy way to get that. To get to the amount we need to get.
Exactly.
I was looking at the base funding tracker, and I think we should review the sub custodial. Because they only took like a 5% deduction.
And the reasoning for that, when we were talking about it, was just because it kind of seemed like they didn't really have too much wiggle room in, because they would have to cut either the goods of like the things they use or student hours, and I guess we decided that since the circ does get a lot of foot traffic. And it is a pretty big representation of Central. We decided to only do, because they originally didn't ask for a reduction, so we decided to just do a 5%. Because just to be a little fair and equitable about it, because
Okay.
Also, keeping things clean is like student health.
And this CERC has 1.5 million annual visitors. I do that suggestion that maybe a few weeks ago, we have randomly selected like 20 students every Saturday, it's just clean serve.
we did do an extra 5%, that would be about $12,500. So we would reach it if we did something like that, but I would be more inclined to do the 1% across.
It's gonna be less than, okay.
So going back to the docket currently reads as slice campus activities and sub-custodial, but it looks like we're still looking to do kind of like a mass 1%.
Do you want me to calculate it as if it were 1%? I think that we would get higher than what we do. Or do you want me to take the difference and distribute that by proportion? So if, one area got 50% of the budget, the total budget, which none of them have, but then they would take 50% of the action. So it would be the smaller areas would be impacted less, and the larger areas would be impacted more. like a proportionate share, would you want to look at something across the board, 1% of the total?
My initial thought, but, doing a 1% across the board. I don't even know if this would happen, but I'm assuming that programs would be like for both their budgets. Therefore, they would use like their entirety of their budget, and then there wouldn't be as much other than after every year. Back to some programs that we're kind of relying on to come back. I think I would recommend instead of doing a just increase the goal or proportionally from each. Program. We just split the 1,800 or not 1,800, $8,300 between whatever programs we choose instead of 4%. Because at that point we would essentially be even, but we wouldn't be doing.
The only problem I see with that is that that number that broke up was just anticipated, so we could be getting more than that, we could be getting less than that. In which case we would be in the deficit, which would
Set us up badly for the next upgrade.
So Aaron, did you address that generally?
We're definitely not gonna hit the number. Next year, we're definitely, the number that, we're basing this off of is, every tool I have at my disposal and every bit of information, but the one number I'm sure we're not gonna hit is the one that's up there, because there are there are so many factors at play in something like this, that you could have a position empty for 6 months, and then all of a sudden it changes everything. So you're absolutely right. I mean, we're just doing the very best that we can. And so if we, however we do it, I think that, if we have a rational method, we can do it. We can continue to go through areas, but if we do it a 1% across the board, we're gonna end up, with 1%, here, maybe I can do it up here. A 1% across the board would basically be how much you would be reducing. Now, not every area is gonna be able to take that, like, I'll pick on the bond payment, no matter what we do, I don't think we're getting away with reducing 1% of the bond payment. So that's why it's like, well, I mean, we can look at a couple of scenarios, like I can do it. Let's say we look at 0.5%. And if you want to switch it to the current recommendation slide, Robbie. Then, kind of play along it.
Definitely.
This is wild.
half percent across the board. Um. I mean, you can go. I'll check my work because this is, I'm a morning person.
Yes, your math is looking good.
Okay, so that would put us at 11,286.15. We needed 83, so we're about $4,000 to the good. Or if there's any that you want to look at that you maybe don't think that you want to apply that reduction to. And I'm gonna quickly flip the signs so that we're, yes.
I would roll it over and give us a little wiggle room too, just in case like there's like minor things that are off, or something like that too. I'm liking the 0.5.
Yeah,
The 0.5,
Yeah, so that 22,000, I
okay,
think is what it was. There are a few I would exclude, like Wilson and Turford, we gave them a specific amount. So we don't want to bring them for.
bond payment and admin fee taken out.
Then that can't speak. Observer, Pulse, Manassas.
I would be inclined to take out the, and you guys can disagree with me on this, but the scheduling, just because,
So now we're playing with, um, we are, if we did the day, 0.5% across the board. Reduction, taking out any areas that you don't want included in that. Or that we shouldn't include in that, like the bond payment. And then seeing where we get to, and I will update this.
Community garden, do we want to take $49 from them? Or can we give them their full amount?
Sticky, there's a few up here for 2377, so
Yeah.
how big are you gonna get?
Sure.
to not, not reduce it by.
Or, yeah, that's what I'm,
Take community garden out.
You have less than your priorities. Your parent request was developed to the 17th. Your current request is not.
I'm okay with doing that. If you see fit to reduce it by 20%.
you could. We can debate on it.
It's interesting because you guys did it like outside of that, but. So the current ones, I do have a offer to not apply that. Further reduction is the bond payment, admin fee, stash, polls, server, scheduling, right?
My God.
Also, yeah, I was like, they're gone. Oh. I was looking at community garden. Because we did approve from Route 98 originally. And I was just saying, do we really want to take $49?
I think it would be, I mean, personally, I think it would be easier explaining what we did
Then,
than. what we did.
yeah, so then,
Go to the all areas data count. So if we include this reduction, then where we're at is you all have another $14,000 that you could allocate. Where you don't have to. So then if you don't, then that will, if let's say everything comes in exactly how we think it will. Then that $14,000 would stay in the S&A fee, so just keeping in mind, none of this money leaves and none of it goes to the, administration. It will just stay there in the reserves to be used for supplemental, to be used to offset, wage increases and things that are needed by.
Yeah. Big time. So I do have bond, admin, finance, national, scheduling. Any other areas? So I'm looking for a motion to recommend a reduction of 25% percent for all budgets except for bond payment, admin fee, dash, pulse, observer, and schedule. Is there a motion?
A motion, but what's the fancy word I can say to say what he said? So.
What's the word?
So. So moved.
Oh.
Like it's very moving, so it's like.
That is.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Alright, taking a division, all those in favor of the motion to apply a further 0.5% reduction to all areas except for bond, admin, dash, polls, observer scheduling, please say aye.
Aye.
Right? The ayes have it, the motion, the recommendation passes 6-0. Yeah. And the remainder is $14,031.08. Is there any discussion?
I think don't we need to.
We need to
Oh.
add a file.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was about to. We're done, like.
Do we need to, do you all need to make a motion to approve this recommendation?
Yes.
Okay,
And if we could have all the votes. All right, so I'll give you a few moments to look over everything, make sure that is, everything you want to see there.
can you throw up? Yeah.
Not too small, it's gonna be a dollar in there, but it's gonna be real small.
Okay.
We can motion it one by one, or it would be just to approve this.
Yeah. There should be. So it'll be the recommended column B. Less column G. So the total amount you all are recommending is $5,673,244.90. Is that what you got, Robbie?
That's not what Excel gave me.
Are you sure? What does it say?
I can't, where do you have it?
Well, I'm just highlighting those two.
No. You just subtracted them, correct?
You'd have to add them, sorry.
Yeah.
That's what-
So my number was 567324492.
Yes. There it is.
Right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the spreadsheet of budgets as is.
Motion to approve the spreadsheet and motions that were recommended earlier as is.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? I know, it's like, that was very long. And I appreciate you guys for. Staying. Right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving spreadsheet and motions and votes? Actually, there wasn't any motions, but the recommendations as it is on the spreadsheet. You say aye.
Bye.
Right, the motion passes 6-0. We're done.
Congrats, y'all.
Hey,
Yeah.
Okay, you can say that.
yes, sorry.
Not putting that.
Seeing that we have no old business, I'll take a first call, consent call. Any help, Tom?
Great job. I know this was a lot, a big lift for you all. And we're having good discussions and taking into account the impact that you have on students, on your peers, on you. So congratulations. I know it's tough and we will continue and we go through, present it to our chief financial officer and then BOT, and so we'll see what they decide. Thank you for all your work and your dedication.
Any other public comment?
I will just say again, how proud I am of all you guys. This is super hard and, I don't know of any committee that has had to make a reduction like this. I hope that you all feel good, even though I'm sure that there's mixed feelings in that, and if any of you wanna, come and talk about it, you're always welcome in my office, but I'm super proud of the thoughtfulness that you put into this, so thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do we have to make a motion to approve the 4% increase?
That will come at a, probably during
Okay.
spring, yeah, that will come through a different route and, we're kind of like balancing out, but yeah, that will be the next, probably the first thing.
Okay,
Which is a friendly reminder to those of you who have not filled out the doodle for spring. You're avoiding my gaze. Please fill it out so that we can get S&A meetings scheduled for spring. Please and thank you.
Just as a reminder, you could say if you maybe look at your availability, like, yeah, I'm not available at this time, definitely not available at this time. Maybe now you're like, oh, maybe I could be available at this time. There's an option for that. Because Google has that. There's that option. So. Knowing that again.
And we're just gonna limit it to an hour, to be able to get back to our meetings with everything going on, so, yeah. 1 hour once a week is all I'm asking.
Any other public comments? Right. Seeing that there's no public comment, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of adjourning today's meeting, please say aye.
Bye.
The ayes have it. This meeting is adjourned at 8:32 p.m.
On filibuster.
Keep them in mind.